Hey guys, so I wanted to come on and to talk about Rasheeda from Love and Hip Hop, and she was going viral. People were creating the TikTok saying, "Are you going?" Calling up their friends, asking them, "Are you going to Rasheeda's show?" And so people were like, "Rasheeda who?" Right? Um, so yeah, I see that she is scheduled to perform at a music festival here in Atlanta, which is here every year. I think it's in a different place, but it's at Piedmont Park this year. I guess because of all of the construction going on around the city, maybe that's why they moved it there. But yeah, so she technically have a show coming up. I think that people that are fans of that show don't really know her as a artist, right? Anyway, right? Because when you really look at the demographics of who watch Love and Hip Hop, they probably don't know her music or know her as a rapper, even though everybody on that show is supposed to be tied to hip hop, even though it may not be that way now, but they're supposed to be tied to the music industry, right? And so that was supposed to, to fall in with the title of the show, Love and Hip Hop. And so I just feel like people don't know her music because they're probably under a certain age. Why I wanted to make this video, because I started thinking about Rasheeda's career, right? Because I am old enough to remember her. And in fairness to her, that song, My Bubblegum, I guess it was on the charts. Not only was it on the charts, but it definitely was in rotation on those music video channels that we used to have. There was no social media. And so she was on those channels, like her video was in rotation, and that was a while ago. And then you really didn't hear about her. I think she had a couple songs off that album, if I'm not mistaken. I'm thinking back to a long time ago. And then you really didn't see her that much. And then she came back with Candy, right, from Escape and from Real Housewives of Atlanta. And they came back as Peach Candy as a duo. But then also around that time, you started to hear about her in a relationship and remember, we already knew who she was because of her success from My Bubblegum. So we're still in that time frame. And it was about her and somebody else. And I didn't know most people didn't know who Kirk was at that time because, like I stated, there was no social media and we didn't know her husband like that if you were outside of Georgia. I feel like people in Atlanta probably knew who he was. But I didn't know who he was. I just know that there was a story that was out here saying that she was married and that she was dating, and I forget who it was. I've been trying to figure, like maybe it'll pop back to my memory because I remember the conversation, but I just can't remember who it was, and I don't want to start putting too many names out here, but I do feel like it was somebody from the South. It was either an athlete or a rapper. Now, if you're old enough to know, y'all can jump in the comments, and if you remember, you can tell us who it was. It was a story that was out here, like for real, like people were talking about that. And you guys have to remember that hip-hop has always been male-dominated, right? And so you could just imagine how the guys were on that conversation. But she also admits it on Love and Hip Hop. Let me let you guys listen to that.
Relationships have issues, but y'all also got to understand forgiveness too. And that's what I have learned to understand because we've had to forgive each other for I ain't always been perfect in my marriage. We've had dishonesty from both sides of us in this marriage. We've had infidelities from both sides of us in this marriage.
No. What? Oh my God.
My situation was a very long time ago.
Rasheeda.
I'm not just saying this. This was a story that was out here. I wasn't even in Atlanta at that time. And so it was in our magazines. It was just on the radio because that's how we would have been talking back then, like from the radio or from magazines, right? So she kind of disappeared again, right? And so my whole thing with this video is what I wanted to say is I'm kind of wondering if because Kirk was supposed to be her manager, I believe, from day one. But yeah, I started to wonder, like, I wonder if Kurt kind of like sidelined her a little bit unintentionally because of her and whatever she had going on with this other person. And then too, I started thinking, well, maybe they had an open relationship from the gate. I don't know. Only they can speak to that. And I'm just saying, I wonder if he sidelined her a little bit, because you heard her, she was able to come back with Candy, and then you just didn't hear about her anymore. Then she popped up on Love and Hip Hop, right, some years later. Now, that Peach Candy was definitely some years long before Love and Hip Hop, because by the time Love and Hip Hop came about, like, we had internet and all this other, all this social media stuff out here that wasn't here before. So it was definitely some time in between really hearing her, Candy, and then her coming back on Love and Hip Hop. And she really don't get, she talk about music here and there on that show. I don't think people really take it too serious, because as the generation start changing, people start feeling like, well, you're too old to be doing this type thing, and so people don't really want to see her in that light. And I see a lot of comments. A lot of people say, she should stick to fashion, and she also has a restaurant here, and I'm going to get into that on my other channel. By the time, child, I don't know when, but I'm trying to get this other channel up about Atlanta. So her restaurant is open. It seems to be the only thing open over there on on Peter Street in Castleberry Hills area. So she has a restaurant, she has her stores, so she's still successful in her own right. I think people are just wanting to accept her in that lane, and not really the music. They don't really want to see her in that music lane. But you guys can let me know what you think. Do you guys get what I'm saying about maybe Kurt kind of sidelined her a little bit? Because I feel like especially for an Atlanta artist, Rasheeda should have been able to do a little more than the few songs that she did give us. And that's just my opinion, and I'm not trying to stir anything. I'm just saying, I wonder if he was like, kind of keeping her out of the light a little bit, because of maybe thinking that she was going to latch on to some other man and go on about her business. I don't know. You never know. And that comes into the conversation that Amaretta, who's also from Atlanta, I'm going to bring her up in a different video as well, but on this channel, because she just put a video up on her Instagram about producers and executives trying to get at female artists. And so that's what made me have the thoughts about Rasheeda as well, because she is married technically to her manager. And so sometimes these relationships, they will play into your career. And so women have to really think about these things. I agree with Amaretta about that. But let me know what y'all think about what I'm saying. And people are kind of making the jokes about her music, but she was on the charts. And she came into the industry when you had to really have a record deal. So y'all can say whatever y'all want to say. But yeah, she had a record deal and she was on the charts and on the video channels or whatever. She just have not been able to put, the projects out. And that's what I'm wondering about, if maybe her marriage had something to do with that. But you guys can let me know what you think about what I'm saying in this conversation, and the TikTok videos, because, you have to have thick skin out here for people, on this internet, because people be saying all kind of stuff, child. You know what I'm saying? They don't do no type of research or nothing. They just be just going at it. But let me know what y'all think in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
What song are you gonna rap, Rasheeda? Who you gonna get to press play on the track, Rasheeda? Rasheeda done booked these people grass to have a concert in October. Rasheeda, those of us in our age group, we left you alone. Because when K. Michelle said, I'm Rasheeda, I rap like Shawty Low. I'm not laughing. We felt bad for you, so we really didn't, we don't address you. We let this little new school come along, and we let them do, but we stayed with you, and we was rooting for you and Kurt. But then when you do stuff like this, we can't support this.